All right, here we go. So, hi everyone. Um, on the high level, we have a few interesting efforts going on, a few interesting things that got committed. To begin with, Pavel last my USB camera is a little bit too easy to disconnect. So, yes. Hello. Apparently not.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
I don't have audio. Oh, I do have audio. It's just that the background is blue. Okay. So, Pavel last week committed the disruption events. So now the bridge will tell you when there's a problem with the connection, and also a libjitsi would detect if there's a muted status on the video tag, so it would also tell you interpret that as a problem with the connection. Based on a few conditions that you're not currently muted, for example, and you will go in and know where everyone is going to receive a notification when there's a connection problem with one of the participants. How would you like to add anything on that? Any work that's still to be done there? Any gotchas?
So apart from that, I also wrote tests in Torture. They are not merged yet, but I don't think there is anything to add.
That's cool. We're also thinking of adding a client-side utility to libjitsi that will allow you to log your entire console, because we're finding that we need that more often than not when debugging calls. And we're still trying to figure out what server options we have. Hopefully, those stats might agree to do one. But otherwise, anyone, including ourselves, can just write our own, and we can get things to dump there. So I think that's what you'll be working on next. Oh, and have you already done the Chikofo log cleaning?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
The health check log removed.
So that should make things easier for observing and monitoring for people deploying Chikofo. Thanks, Pavel. Apparently, I've decided today to do to be everyone's voice. So Damien has been working on adding a new algorithm for the GSM bars because the current one is kind of shaky. And that's nearly done. Seems to be working fine for simulcast. It's based on the bandwidth estimations in Chrome. And we still need to tweak it a little bit for non-simulcast cases so that the values are appropriate there. Also, Damien will be working this week on trying to get the server-side call reports, call stats reports, per conference reports. So we're getting closer to that as well. Anything I'm missing, Damien? Okay. George. So George is working on implementing support for ramp-up and probing. He rewrote a big chunk of our timestamp rewriting, which should be solving. George, can you show yourself?
Yes.
There he is.
George.
Sorry. So we are.
We can't see you guys at all, Emil. It's got the connectivity issue thing up.
Since when?
Since your USB thing.
Okay.
Disruption.
No. Thanks, Brian. So George rewrote the timestamp implementation, timestamp rewriting. Oh, that's cool. George rewrote timestamp rewriting. So that should solve a few issues where you were seeing, you might have been seeing scrambling video and or loss of lip sync. that should all now be removed in the latest master versions and also on this site. George, would you like to say anything about the probe implementation and how far along that is?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have it for today.
Don't start with the bad news.
Yes, we have to get that out of the way. So. But I don't think we are very far because rewriting the timestamps required a lot of rewriting the timestamp rewriting required a lot of introducing some new abstraction that have laid the work for the probing implementation. So I don't think we're very far. And also something that might be of interesting. Brian, did you figure out the FMJ RTCP sender report, not sending sender reports for the mixing thing, or for the mixing case?
Yeah, but the way we ended up having to go, well, I'm hoping we can come back and get something a little more legit, but what we ended up doing for that was something pretty specific to our thing, because our new mixer was already wired up to provide our TCP, so now we're relying on that.
Okay.
So we didn't dig down into the heart of why FMJ didn't seem to be doing it in the mix, yeah.
Because I had it while I was reviewing the code for I also reviewed the code for RTCP, and it turns out that we are overriding the RTCP transmitter of the RTP manager in both cases, both for the audio and for the video. So that explains why the RTCP generation in the mixing scenario is broken.
Cool.
Yeah, we do have in the RTP translator implementation. No. In the video stream implementation, we set the RTCP transmitter of the RTP manager to something that doesn't transmit anything. So that's why we don't transmit anything, because we specifically set it to not transmit anything, both in the audio and the video case.
So is that now fixed, or do you just?
Well, it's not fixed because we don't need it, but maybe. And I didn't have time to think about it more. But since Brian doesn't have the problem anymore, I'm just mentioning it in case somebody else has it, or in case Brian was still interested in that.
Yeah, that's good to know. I would like even in ours to not rely on our mixer and to have something. I think part of the problem though is that the way that the mixer got implemented, we ripped out the RTP manager for audio as well, so that was also tricky. So
okay. Well,
I think we're probably in a different situation, but that's good to know that was the root cause of that.
It's very easy to fix it, actually. We just don't do the replacement of the RTCP transmitter if this is an audio media stream, and it's a one-line fix in case you want to try it.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah, I'm going to continue with probing and padding termination. That's what I will be working on going to a couple of next weeks.
Right. Moving on to Sam. Sam is currently working on a new version of Jitsi that should remove a significant piece of the shakiness of the current Jitsi version. Hopefully, we would also have the time to improve the packaging a little bit to make it easier for people to use. Sam's been struggling significantly with picking the right XMPP library to run the server. Eventually, he decided to stick with Slick XMPP for the time being, but we might change again soon. There was a licensing problem with another option, so if that gets out of the way, we might switch to a better library there. Sam, is there anything you'd like to add there?
I don't think so. Only that I'm not sure the packaging will necessarily get any easier.
Not any easier, but we might get the time to do it as well.
Well, we'll have packaging in the sense that the Python application that handles the signaling and all can be packaged in a easier to use and launch way. Be easy to install via pip or whatever your preferred package manager is. But it does still require a lot of custom setup for things like the audio loopback device and all that sort of stuff. So really documentation will be the key there, yeah. And
So we
potentially we
dropped-
could ship like a virtual machine or something.
And we dropped the idea of the in a Docker container with.
Oh yeah, the Docker packaging works as far as being packaging is concerned, but you still end up having to install, unless you do weird like run Linux in user space on Linux, you can't really, which just turns into a whole nother nightmare of rabbit hole.
Yeah, we could probably think about doing it. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think documentation and potentially shipping a virtual machine would be giving people a QEMU image or something to,
Or even AMIs.
or yeah.
Oh, we could do that, yeah. All right. Aaron, anything of note to add for the DevOps side?
Mostly that we discovered a UDP tuning that makes our bridges work better.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
And there's a new parameter in the JDB that could be taken advantage of by other people as well if they wanted to do it.
Right, Boris can talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, that's a good point. We used to have this weird problem. What Aaron is mentioning is this weird problem where we were often seeing 2 to 3% packet loss on bridges for no obvious reason. So,
And it was packet loss specifically in the kernel buffers before the packets even made it to the bridge process.
by the way, are you guys hearing Aaron? Because he's a little bit far away from the microphone. Yeah, okay. So that now has been solved with configuring the size of socket buffers for UDP. And we hope that if anyone else has been seeing that problem, that would also solve it for them. Boris, can you prepare the name of the option? Actually, I just see a message. Maybe that's Boris pasting it. No.
Not yet. I'll paste it right now.
So, oh yeah, by the way, the new interface is now deployed on Jitsi as well, actually. Was it already there? No. I think, maybe it was on. That's actually true. Nothing to say there. It's a Christo has been working on a bunch of issues. There was a problem with websites using Jitsi in iframes, like Rocket Chat, for example. Desktop sharing wasn't possible there. Now that's been fixed.
Yeah.
What else would you like to add?
There was another issue with the desktop sharing. So from time to time, it was possible to happen that if you don't have the plugin, you're installing it, and at the end you're receiving an error that you failed to install it actually, but it turns out that it's correctly installed and you can use it if you press again the desktop sharing. So now you shouldn't see that anymore, and it should work. Other than that, refactored a little bit the hang-up functionality, added a command about the hang-up in the iframe API, and one new event that will tell the user of the iframe API that we are ready to be closed after the hang-up, which basically should mean that the feedback dialog is displayed and the user has entered his feedback, or if the feedback is not enabled, that we left the room and the hang-up is finished. Other than that, there was some analytics work, but it's kind of specific, so maybe it's not going to be very, very interesting.
Okay,
And I think that's it.
great. Yana, would you like to share?
So yeah, I was mainly working on the redesign of Meet, and so you can see the changes already on Jitsi, and we'll continue to improve it and fix bugs, small bugs we have already seen in there. And yeah, well, this week I'll mostly work on the video thumbnails and the fact that they a little bit still look a little bit weird today because of the lot of blackness, and just I will be trying to lay out better what we show in there, and yeah, I'll concentrate on that.
Right, so black thumbnail is going to be fixed. A lot of people use, I don't know if anyone else has had this experience, but a lot of people using the application are thinking that, are taken aback by the black thumbnail and wondering if it's a bug or something. So we'll just be changing the layout there a little bit. Names will be shown differently. And that's mostly it. So on a different note, we're working on a redesign of the Jitsi.org website. We're working with an agency here in Austin to do that. The new website will be significantly more organization oriented and not single project oriented, which is how the current site was built. We will have a lot of spotlight allocated for Jitsi Meet and Jitsi Video Bridge. All other projects, including the Jitsi desktop client, will be listed in a project space, and that includes all of our GitHub sub projects. So that's actually shaping quite nicely. It is amazing to me that we have survived as a community with the current lack of care on our website. So I'm very, very glad we'll be fixing that. So this is all from our side, and now it's time for open mic. Are there any questions, comments, stories? I see a lot of movement in the thumbnails. Yeah, Simon, good to meet you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, hello. I'm new to the conference. I've never attended. So we started using Jitsi Meet some weeks ago. And I was interesting because I read a lot of online that you were planning for an iOS app, but actually never started one.
Yes.
If there is, any change.
Yeah. And by the way, let me start by not answering it because I just saw that Boris is in here as well, and I forgot to give him a chance to speak. He already pasted the property that everyone should use. We are probably going to change the default value to some. Actually, have we already changed the default value, Boris?
No.
We haven't changed it now.
Yeah, we should probably do
That
that.
was actually on purpose because otherwise you have to make kernel changes that we didn't want to necessarily assume that everyone running the Debian package would make.
So what kernel changes?
For the maximum buffer size,
Which is how much by default?
200K.
Oh, really? You cannot have a bigger buffer without changing the kernel?
Correct. So there's two changes. The kernel needs to change, and then also the application has to request a larger buffer.
I didn't know
We
that.
changed the application requesting a larger buffer, but this is the other parameter that Boris just pasted, which is what you have to tune in order to actually get it to work.
Right.
So you never know what the value is because the different distributions might have different values, but whatever we're using is 200K, which is too low, I think.
So
Right.
we moved to 490, I think.
So in our case, we won't be able to fix that, and we should probably have a fact somewhere.
We could do that in the Debian configuration steps when we install the package.
Actually, well, can you? Is this a kernel parameter or is it?
It's a syscontrol.
So that should be changeable at runtime, right? If it's syscontrol.
It is changeable at runtime.
So we could do it in the. So we could make it
Right, as long as we're making
4 by default.
some assumptions about the available memory in general. Yeah.
So
I
Yeah.
don't know whether it's nice to modify this parameter by an application.
I don't think it
I
would
mean,
be an application. It would just be a config file we shipped with it that people could install on their whatever Etsy syscontrol.d or whatever it is. I would think.
Or at least frames.
Yeah, we could say something when you install it.
yeah, we should do something there because we definitely want to avoid that loss. So now let me answer. Yeah, actually, Boris, do you want to speak a little bit about your new ICE project? Let me give everyone the intro. We noticed a few weeks ago that Chrome was doing something interesting. Every time a UDP connection stops working mid-flight, it would attempt to reconnect over TCP. And it's actually funny that I'm using the word mid-flight because the first time we noticed something similar is when I was in the flight and actually using Meet to talk to someone, and it turns out that the in-flight Wi-Fi was only allowing UDP for a certain number of packets, presumably to not meddle with DNS, and it was then killing it. So Meet was failing in that situation. Because as soon as the negotiation saw that UDP was working, it was banning TCP as an option. And oddly enough, AppRTC was succeeding. So the first thing we tried was to just force TCP with Meet, which worked. So then later on, Pavel actually noticed this behavior in Chrome. And that's where we started thinking that we should be able to switch among candidates at any point. So this is wildly non-standard behavior, and we're absolutely not bothered by that fact. And as a matter of fact, it's something that we've been hoping to get Chrome to do for UDP for a while. The fact that they do it for TCP is again not too bad. So Boris, would you like to outline your plan on working on that?
Well, the change involves being able to have more than one pair of candidates and more than one socket that we read from, so that whether we receive data on the selected pair with the UDP socket or on the TCP socket, all of this data should end up in the application, the Jitsi Video Bridge application, as a user of the ICE4J library. So there's going to be a big chunk of work reworking the library to allow for this. And then we need some way to be able to change the target so that we use one of a set of sockets to send the data to the client. These are basic changes to the ICE4J library, and then we're going to need to go over libjitsi and Video Bridge to make sure that they use the proper APIs. After that, we need to come up with some kind of logic as to what the target should be, because this seems to be non-standard, and we need to switch to, right. We need to switch to another socket, for example. And it looks like Chrome does the switch itself, even though it's controlled ICE agent. So we might, as a first step in the implementation, just use the target of the last socket that Chrome sent data to, and let it control that. But I guess that's the first step. But I don't know how we're gonna work with that in the future.
As a matter of fact, if we're doing that, we could also just remove the requirement for the bridge to be the controlling agent, and just let Chrome be the controlling agent, which is going to solve issues for other people as well, and allow them to stop using the tiebreaker hack. Whoever among you do not know what this is, then your ignorance is blissful, and you should be happy that you haven't needed it. Anyways, so that's I'm personally very excited about that work, because it's also going to tie into support for handovers later on for mobile. This is something that we're going to need there. So I think that's a pretty worthwhile piece of work. Boris, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's all.
Okay, thank you. So Simon, going back to your question, yes, we are actually working. Actually, we are actually working already on a mobile app, and you can even check it out here. We're using React Native, so the same application should be working on iOS and Android. Not should be, it is working on iOS and Android. My version is not up to date. I was hoping to do a demo, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have to get the time this go. We hope that we'll make a public release on the App Store in the following month, at least for Android, at least for iOS. But the source code is already out there, so anyone is free to use it and do their own app. But yeah, I'm not sure why you had the impression that we had decided not to do it when we. This is in fact a very active piece of work for us. Lubo is not currently here, but he has been looking during the last 2 weeks at merging the Jitsi Meet React project with Jitsi Meet itself. We hope to end up at the end with a single code base. That was our whole idea when we started with React Native. We'd like to have a single code base between desktop, Android, and iOS. This is already the case for libjitsi-meet. It is the same, absolutely the same code that runs on all 3 operating systems. And eventually, we hope that this would be the case for web as well.
Yeah, great.
So, is there anything else? Anyone else, or maybe Simon? Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Regarding the UI, because I'm also interested in maybe getting involved in developing, helping the UI, because I have some ideas. Is there already a good contact person to get in contact with, who I can talk with about it?
So the best place to do that is on the mailing list. Jana here is actually, you're not in frame. Jana is our person in charge of the user interface. So she would probably be the one to rule on most of this. Is there anything specific that you wanted to discuss, or you think it's longer discussion?
No, not right now. I just wanted to join the call today to see how your work is done, because I wasn't involved before. I was just a little bit active on the GitHub page and looking around, but yeah, planning to do so in the next couple of months.
Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your use case?
Well, the first thing I noticed, because you integrated the hand raise sign, that would be a good thing to have a number on it, so you can see the order who raised the hand in which order. So that was a feature we wanted to integrate in our version, and there are a couple of other features, but I don't have them right now here. Sorry.
Okay, and you're using Jitsi Meet in what context? Bigger conferences, teaching? Can you tell us
smaller conferences, 15 to 50 people we plan to.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, definitely share your ideas on the mailing list, and we can discuss what are the best ways to address them.
Yeah, great.
Any other questions or comments?
So I'll jump in. Or were you finished, Simon?
Yeah.
All right, everyone. So just maybe 2 topics with respect to Jitsi Meet. One is for the Bootstrap migration, and the other one is to introduce Gus, who's with us for OpenFire. So I'll let him introduce himself after. Just to follow up a bit on what do we want to do with the Bootstrap integration, because the design has changed. And we hadn't been following that, so we're sort of in a conflict in terms of the commits.
Yes. So we haven't been looking into that a lot because the last few times that I have tried to merge, it was like a month ago, but
Yeah, we actually updated. You weren't here.
Okay.
We already updated Mark, so
Yes,
I complained about the last mile of changes, but
yeah, but
I guess the
right now,
question is more about do we still?
I'm not sure right now. I'm not sure that there is still value in the. Maybe there is. We should make sure that when we do the reactification of the code, we are our web version is mobile friendly and compliant. But I'm not sure that there is still value in the bootstrap changes.
Well, specifically, it is clear that you guys shouldn't try to, even if before we get to the question of the value, this would not be a good time to try and redo them again, because given the pending React changes, they would likely be obsoleted very quickly again.
That's what I want.
So Mark made a pretty good case back when we were deciding whether or not we wanted that. I think most of the arguments would probably still apply, and from what I hear, Bootstrap can work well with React and still bring value. Is that the case, Mark?
Well, I'm not familiar with React, but
I have actually looked into the Bootstrap. There is a Bootstrap React project, and but it's really in progress. From what I've seen, like a month ago, it was not in a very production ready state, but there is a project, so we can definitely look into that as well.
Right. So, do you have any questions about this, Mark?
So I guess, so what I'm understanding is we just put it on hold, and then we'll see a bit later, and when you guys say we want it, we'll resume the work.
I think that's the way that makes sense, and I probably am just as or even more bummed out than you are that this whole effort has dragged for so long, and you guys have sunk resources in that we couldn't integrate. So I'm sorry about that, and it would have been great if we had synced better and got it to fruition, but we are where we are. For the future, yes, I think that once the React work is done, we should have another look and consider what does Bootstrap bring to the table with React, and B, how mature the implementation is, and C, whether you still have the resources and motivation to work on that.
Yeah, so I can answer right away. The motivation, for sure. Like if it's desired, we'll always want to do it. In terms of the timing, it's just that we do it, in between projects. So we just need to coordinate for this. This being said, even with the recent changes, like part of it was just to get going and for Lucy to learn, Jitsi Meet and getting the server going and all that. So to redo it, like with the current interface, would not be that long. So we could sneak that in at any time. If that makes sense for you.
You mean you wouldn't be bothered by the fact that you might have to redo it a third time for React? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I was saying is that the day we're ready, like we'll make the time to do it according to your schedule, because it's not gonna. I don't expect this to be that big of a job.
Okay, this is great to hear. Thanks, Mark. And what was the second topic?
So, well, let Gus introduce himself. Gus from OpenFire.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Gus.
Hey, I'm the second topic. I'm also surrounded by screaming toddlers, so I'll keep this short. It's 6 p.m. here. So I'm one of the lead contributors on the OpenFire project, and a couple of others on Ignite at the time. And Mark asked me to have a second look at the integration with your products and OpenFire.
Right.
I guess you guys know Delle Oyade, who created an OpenFire specific plugin. I'm looking at that and seeing in ways how we can benefit from your work and keep his work either up to date or realize some kind of other integration. I'm pretty new with these parts of the project, so I'll have to see. Today I thought it was good to join here and meet you guys, see where we are, and from there start determining how I can be of assistance.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for stopping by, and thank you for all your contributions on OpenFire. We've used OpenFire for many years. So with regard to integrating Meet and Video Bridge in OpenFire, this is something that we've wanted to do for a while. Damien worked on it some in the middle of last year, I think. As in so many cases, I think we failed to finish the last miles. I don't exactly remember the reasons. Now, I have a little bit of a problem there because Dele, who is, I have nothing but respect for him, but he made a few choices which are essentially forking Meet and changing significantly a few of the design decisions that we had made. Specifically, for example, he relies on mixing, which is something that we're even thinking of. I mean, it's almost it's not our main recommendation for consuming the video bridge because it greatly impacts scaling. There were a few other things that I'm not remembering right now. All of those that I did for reasons that were rational. Obviously, he had integrations with, he had a SIP integration that was different than ours. And I believe he was also doing recording in a slightly different way than we are. But so it ended up in a project that we are absolutely unable to help with because it's essentially a foregoing in a different direction. If someone in the OpenFire community was interested in putting some time into integrating Jitsi Meet and Jitsi Video Bridge, because I think this is where we got stuck. Really, the last part of integrating it as part of OpenFire's plugin system. If someone there would like to help us with that, we would definitely do our part on our side to get it there. But I'm talking about a default integration of Meet and the bridge. So I don't even think there's that much to do. Sorry, Meet and Gkoffle. So that's a different focus agent than the one that Dele's using, I believe.
Yeah, he's using the old version, which has the JavaScript.
Right. Oh yeah, that's also a very substantial difference. The JavaScript version of our focus is something we consider very, very outdated. It has some inherent big problems, like as soon as the organizer of the conference leaves, the conference is busted. It's obviously very unstable as well, just as unstable as the connection of the organizer to the conference. So we've walked away from this model for good reasons. So again, if you guys are interested in helping us integrate Jitsi Meet and Jitsi Video Bridge, that would be super cool, and we'd love to help.
Well, excellent. Well, you're bombarding me with a lot of factoids and details, and I simply don't know what his reasoning was. Or
they're all true though, so just take my word.
Yeah, sure, but I think at the very least we're experiencing that having a fork is undesirable, basically because we're lagging behind severely with the cool stuff that you guys are doing. I think that lots of Dallas' choices were based on pragmatism as well. He's a one-man show who had to make things work. So hopefully with me on board as an added resource, we could at least reevaluate some of the decisions that he made, and we could take it from there.
Excellent. Guys, feel free to post on our mailing list, and I think we're also connected on one of the social networks, so feel free to ping me directly as well. And we can schedule some time to walk and talk through this.
Sure, I'll post my JIT in this chat so you guys can add me as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so at this point, I think we can conclude this call. It's been a very interesting call. Thanks everyone for joining, and looking forward to seeing you on the lists and here again in 2 weeks. Have a great evening and a great day.
Bye.
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 This thing? Oh, the JIT.
Let's send it to me.
Oh,
Okay, that
boy.
works. That works.
Before